Hi everyone, so big news. I'm engaged! So if you guys want to hear the story time of how I got proposed to, I'm going to do it right here while I get ready, doing my hair and my makeup, which I'm going to show you guys. So if you guys want to know the story time, keep watching. Ignore the messy background, I didn't have time to clean it, but we're just going to pretend it's not there. Going in with a moisturizer, this is Philosophy Hopes. I love how this stuff smells. Me and my fiance now, we're boyfriend and girlfriend for 13 years. So everyone would ask us, when are we going to get engaged? Honestly, we never really felt pressured of it or cared, but I would say within the last year and a half or 2 years, I felt we were ready. So we did have the talk about a year and a half ago about the timeline, and we were thinking about marriage, and we had said like a year and a half to 2 years would be a good time to get engaged. By then we talked about looking at rings early on because I wanted to be surprised when I was proposed. So I was like, if we look at it now, then I know you're not gonna do it anytime soon. So it's just like, you'll know what I like, and then by the time it comes, I'll be pretty much surprised. So people are asking if I was surprised, and the answer is yes and no, because we had previously did discuss the timeline. However, after we looked at rings, we never really talked about it again. It's kind of a surprise of when it was gonna happen. However, I did go to Cancun for my 30th birthday, and that was coming towards the end of our timeline that we said we wanted to get proposed, and I felt like ideally that would have been the perfect scenario for him because it's towards the end, plus it's this big trip, and my family was gonna be there, my immediate family. So I just felt like, okay, I think he's gonna do it then. So that is why I say yes and no, because it makes sense, but also I didn't know because we never really talked about it after looking at the rings, which was way earlier on in the year. I'm gonna be honest, I thought my boyfriend would ruin it a little bit more because he thinks that I'm picky, like I would be picky with the ring or whatnot. So I felt like he would start asking me questions like, wait, what did you like about this? Or what was certain things? And I felt like he would give it away, but he actually did really good and never really brought it up afterwards. The time was passing by, I had forgotten about it, but then something weird happened. So he did get this new job and he was working long hours, which was true. So it kind of threw off the schedule of his normal routine that I was used to seeing. And then one day it was my friend's birthday, and he was starting to look for gyms near his work because he really wanted to get back into working out, which was true. We both wanted to get back into working out. And he found a gym that had a 3-day trial. He had told me like, I want to go all 3 days. And I was like, yeah, fine. Somehow that trial, the last day, was on the day of my friend's birthday, who was having a gathering that night. And I had told my boyfriend like, hey, after work, can you come back home because we're gonna go to this party? And he's like, wait, that's the last day of the gym trial. I really wanted to take advantage of this last day. He's like, can I just meet you there? And I was like, no, I don't want to go alone at night. Can you just please try to come home after the gym? So it's the day of, and I'm waiting for him to come home. I don't want to bother him because I know he gets annoyed if I rush him at the gym. So I was just like, let me just check his location to see if he's on the way home or like where he's at. Guys, I check his location and he's at BJ's. That is not the gym. Why is he at BJ's? But he told me he was at the gym. The first thing that came to my mind is he asking my dad for my hand in marriage? He just is not the kind of guy who would lie to me. I feel like the only explanation in the world is that he would be asking my dad, and that is the only reason why he's at a restaurant right now and he had to lie to me. I did have a little bit of doubt because he started a new job, and then your mind is like, wait, he started a new job, what if there's like a romance going on? You just never know. But I felt strongly about that. I trusted him, and that was the only explanation, that he had to be asking my dad. Even though we hadn't talked about it, I literally had no clue if he was gonna propose in Cancun or what the situation was, and it was just so random. Like the random day I decided to check his location. I never do that. He was at BJ's. The thing that sucked is that I couldn't confront him about it, because if it happened to be that he is asking my dad, then I didn't want to burn him out if there was a chance that it was for the proposal. So I literally had to keep that to myself until, if let's say he proposes, then I could be like, okay, where did you ask my dad? And it better be BJ's, because if it was any other answer, the proposal was gonna be over. So I decided that I'm just gonna keep it to myself and not even mention it. I did tell my friends because I needed to vent to somebody, but I just trusted him and I was like, okay, I'm gonna keep this to myself, and 3 weeks later figure this situation out. So he hadn't made anything obvious. And another thing that threw me off, that I was like, wait, maybe it's not gonna happen, was because we were going to Cancun and we are gonna be with my family and like, go with the flow. I had figured I would know for sure if he's proposing if he tells me, hey Cynthia, one of the days let's do something separate. because I would just make it obvious, because I know we're always with the family when we do stuff like this, and I was waiting for him to tell me to reserve a day, but he never said that. So I'm like, is he just gonna do it out of thin air? Like, oh, he's feeling it, let me do it in the lobby. I'm like, why is he not telling me a day? Why does he not have something planned? So that was like, maybe he's not gonna do it, or if he's gonna do it, it's gonna be the most random ass place. He's just gonna go with the flow, which is not really like him. So I was like, maybe he's not gonna do it. So we are going to Cancun, and he's showing no sign of nervousness. And he's a pretty nervous person. He gets nervous easily. So he's just seeming like he's chilling. I'm just trying to get as much clues as I can get to see if it's gonna happen or not, but I'm not really getting much. He's not acting nervous. And then another thing is that anywhere we go to any trip, he's always uses the safe. He locks up his wallet, any valuables, he always does that. So in my head, I'm like, if he has the ring, we're in Mexico, like of course he's gonna put in the safe, because we're gonna be in the pools. He's not gonna have it out. He's gonna put in the safe. So I'm gonna watch out to see if he's using the safe or if he's being weird about me getting close to the safe. So that's gonna be me trying to figure this out. Even though I shouldn't be doing that, but it was in the back of my head. I can't just pretend that I wasn't thinking about it. So we get there, and he is using the safe like he usually does, but he's not being weird about it. If I had something, he's like, oh yeah, just put in the safe. And I was like, are you sure you want me to go in there? Like, there's a ring in there. I don't think you want me to go in there. You know, he just was like, yeah, I put in the safe, do this. Like, he was giving me the code. I was like really thrown off at this point, because that's like the one thing you should really be locking up. At that point, I was like, it's not happening. He was like, let's have house cleaning come in and clean the room. Because in my head, I was like, if you're not putting the ring in the safe, it's somewhere in the room. And I was pretty sure he was gonna be like, no house cleaning, at least until after he proposes. So he was like, oh, let's have house cleaning come in. He's not locking stuff in the safe if he has a ring. He's not bringing it to the pools. I know that for sure. He's willing to it be left in the room and willing to have housekeeping come in. So I was like, it's not happening. I was wrong all along. And I even was gonna text my friend, because I had told my friend I had a feeling, but I was gonna text her, it's not happening. Don't even expect it. As the day goes by, I just was like, I'm getting it out of my head. I need to let this idea go and not even get excited for it. After a long night, I was exhausted. I was so tired. I was gonna knock out in 2 seconds. And he's like trying to talk to me while I'm trying to go to sleep. And I'm like, Frankie, I'm really tired. He's just trying to be casual about it. He's like, oh yeah, so what are we gonna do tomorrow? I was just like, oh, we're just gonna go with my family. And then he's just like, oh, why don't we do something separate? And I'm like, that has been what I've been waiting for. And he's just like, yeah, me and you, why don't we do something separate, celebrate your birthday? Because my birthday was gonna be 2 days after. And I was just like, okay, like I'm not gonna question it, obviously. So the next day, I'm getting ready, and this is where I'm like, okay, this is happening. So I'm trying to look all cute, obviously, but something else kind of throws me off. So we had bought these things. This was the key to our room. He saw mine on the counter. I purposely put it on the counter because I'm like, if I'm about to get proposed to, I'm not gonna have this on my wrist. Like, I'm not gonna be like, yes. So he sees it on the counter, and this is like right before we're gonna go me get proposed to. And he sees it and he's like, why aren't you wearing this? This is for your room. He's like, you need to be wearing it. I didn't tell him this, but I'm like, you're gonna propose to me. You really want this in my hand in pictures? I was just trying to brush it off. Like, oh, well, it's fine. It doesn't go with my outfit or something. I'll wear it another day. He's like, yeah, but we paid for this, and why aren't you using it? Like, you should be wearing it. And he was like pretty adamant about that. And I'm like, dude, you don't want it in the pictures. Trust me, you do not want this in the pictures. And I was just like, no, absolutely not. I'm not even gonna risk wearing it if I have the thing to get proposed to. Like I said, I didn't tell him this, but this is in my head. I was like, okay, whatever. I just kept brushing it off. And I was like, damn, like, is he really just taking me out to dinner? Like, is that all that it is? And so then I'm like, okay, maybe it's not gonna happen. But we're getting ready. He goes in the restroom and he's trying to close the door or like lock it, and it's just not locking. And he's like struggling. And I'm like, dude, we've been together for 13 years. You could do whatever with the door unlocked. Like, I'm not gonna go in there, obviously. I know you're in there. And the door was closed, but it just wasn't locked. He's like struggling to lock it. And I'm like, oh, why is he struggling to lock it? So then that was one of those times where I'm like, okay, that's a little weird. I had like all my potential outfits laid out. He was looking at the tag of each dress, which I'll tell you why later. Every dress I would wear, he would look at the tag, or he'd be like, oh, where'd you get this from? Like, it's cute, where'd you get this from? And I'm like, oh, I got it from Princess Polly or whatever. And then like the next dress, he's like, oh, what about this one? Where is it from? And like after the third time he asked me, I was like, you're so weird. Why do you care where every dress is from? I've never seen you that interested in what I'm wearing. So anyways, it's time to go, and he takes me to the lobby and we're gonna get in a taxi, and I'm like, oh, where are we going? He's like, oh, we're gonna go to dinner and a show. And I really thought that's what we were doing. In my head, I was like, okay, we're gonna go to dinner and he's gonna propose to me at dinner. He's telling the taxi driver where to go. I don't know how he gets the wrong address or something. We get dropped off in the wrong place, and we're in like Mexico in an alley, some sketchy ass place, and I was like, what's going on over here? I was a little concerned, you know, I'm not gonna lie. But I was looking at my surroundings, and I saw a deck a few blocks down where I'm like, that's the only thing I could think of. Like the rest were just like the alleys, the streets, like nothing that I could see a proposal happening in, other than I saw boats a few blocks down, you know? So he's like, oh, I think the guy dropped us off at the wrong address. And I was like, there's some boats over there. Maybe it's there, like in the boats, like in the boat, you know? And he just like kept ignoring me. He never told me he was looking for a boat, but I was like, that's the only reasonable thing I could see that's happening over here. He just kept ignoring me, and I kept like trying to hint that there's a boat, and I think that's what he was looking for. But he's like, no, no, no. Oh, you know what? It's actually here. We flagged out the taxi, and now we are going to the correct place. We get to a hotel. My boyfriend checks in, and I see the beach outside, so I'm thinking, oh, we're gonna have dinner in the beach. And I'm really excited for this show. I'm really thinking we're going to a show and dinner. Finally, someone comes and gets us, and we're walking. Literally, it's like right around the corner, but they did it so as you're walking there, you literally couldn't see anything until you took the turn. As soon as we took the turn, I look, and there is a setup where they put roses, and it's like a will you marry me sign, and it was like this setup that I was not expecting, because I really thought I was gonna go to dinner, and I was just like, I froze. But at the same time, I didn't think it was for me, because I thought we were going to dinner, one. And two, Cancun is, I'm sure, full of proposals. I was like, maybe this is someone else's setup. So I was like, do I like pretend I don't see it? Just like walk past it? My fiance wasn't moving. He was just standing there, and I'm like, how do I act right now? I don't want to be like, oh my God, and then him be like, oh, dinner's that way. Everything felt in slow motion. Somehow he grabs me and we make it down that aisle. I'm gonna post a picture so you guys can see what I'm talking about. As we're like in the middle of the aisle, my boyfriend was saying his speech. You know how people black out and it's just like, oh, will you marry me? They just forget everything. He was really saying a thought out speech. He wasn't showing any signs of nervousness, and I was shook. I was like, I can't believe this is happening right now. He got down on a knee. He literally did so good. Everything came out perfect. It's so crazy because people were saying beforehand that you're gonna black out when he's doing his speech. I think a part of me beforehand was like, oh, I'm excited to hear what he's gonna say and all these things. It's like you really just black it out. I am so sad because I'm like, I remember bits and pieces, but I'm like, I don't remember exactly what he said, but I remember me thinking like, wow, like this is beautiful. It was just like a crazy moment that it's hard to explain, because when people would explain it, I would just be like, no, I wouldn't black out. I want to hear what he has to say. And it's like, no, you black out. Another thing that was great was that they had that set up, and then they had like champagne for us, and they let us stay there, I think an extra hour, which to me was my favorite part. I always thought that I wanted at least my mom and dad or family there, but I am so thankful of the way it happened. To me, my favorite part was after he proposed, that intimate moment that we had together for an hour. We were just so excited and just like sharing the moment together. And I felt like if other people were there around, that other people would come hug us, and it would be a great moment to celebrate with everyone, but then we would just kind of have to talk to everyone else and just never have that intimate moment like right after the proposal. So I am just so happy he decided to do it separate from the hotel. And then once we got to the hotel, my parents were waiting for us, and then we celebrated with them. So it was like literally perfection, and it just felt so surreal, just us two in that moment, because you just have like all this adrenaline after what just happened. To clear things up, so once we got our drink and started talking, the first thing on my mind was the whole BJ situation earlier in the story. He's like, yeah, you know what's funny? We actually went to BJ's, and I was like, that's all I needed to hear. Like, I knew I could trust you. And then I was just like, yes, we don't need to break off the engagement so early. So he says like, yeah, I asked him at BJ's. It was after work. That was like the only time I could. And the whole dress thing that I said I would get back to, I was saying how he was asking where every single one of my dresses were from. And I was like, why are you so concerned with where the dresses are from? At the beach, he had told me, I knew we were gonna be at the beach, so I was hoping you had like something cheap from like Shein. And I was like, I am so glad I did not listen to you. He's just like, yeah, that's why I kept asking where everything was from, because if it was like an expensive dress, I would probably tell you not to wear that. And I was like, are you crazy? I want to get proposed in my most expensive dress. Oh, guys are just something else.
I'm just happy about the ring, and I'm happy that the weather did me a favor by not raining.
I feel like it would be cool in the rain too.
I was like,
I feel like it'd be like a little notebook moment.
Yeah. I was also asking about your clothes, right? Because I was like, we're gonna be in the sand, it's gonna get dirty. If it was something freaking expensive, I was like, oh, where's this from? Zara? I was like, okay. I was hoping you. I was hoping you were saying like, oh, it's from Shein. Oh, $10. Who cares? You know, she could buy it again.
But yeah, that's pretty much it. I hope you guys like the story time, and I can't believe I'm engaged to my high school sweetheart. But yeah, I have to do more story times on how we met, and I just have so many. But if you guys have any wedding advice, because I don't know what I want to do for my wedding, anyone who's had a wedding, drop it in the comments below. Let me know any advice you guys have. And yeah, I'll see you guys next time.